Hello and welcome to the interview segment of your program. I am Francisca Nana, and today we are taking a look at cloud computing. To discuss this with me is the Chief Executive Officer of Internet Solutions, Olusola Teniola. You're welcome to the program.
You're welcome.
Can you tell us about your business focus?
Obviously, our business focus is essentially in 4 areas. We call it the 4 C's. The first C is to do with connectivity. Second one is communications. Third is cloud. And fourth is connectivity. So we see ourselves as, across those pillars, serving our clients, which are predominantly enterprise clients and multinational corporations. You mentioned that we're part of a global company, which is correct. IS today is 20 years old. That's 20 years when it was first founded in South Africa. IS in Nigeria is 5 years old. That's the history at the moment. What we brought to Nigeria is essentially an ability to connect all the multinational corporations and also the large number of banks, those that are sitting in the financial sectors.
Cloud computing is making headlines, and organizations are starting to look for ways of integrating it into their operations. What do you think is responsible for this interest?
Cloud computing is a new technology that has been around with us for a while, but I think has just taken, I would say, commercial acceptance in the ICT industry, the banking industry, the fast-moving and consumable goods industry, and other verticals that require low-cost computing. I like to use analogies. So, for instance, you walk into a bank, you use the ATM machine. If you don't walk into a bank, you may do online banking. Both the ATM machine and the online banking are using CPU processing in the back office, but you never get to see the back office, whether you use the ATM or you're doing online banking. That resource is now located in the cloud, as opposed to in the bottom of a backroom office of a bank. So that's the simplest way to describe cloud computing. Essentially, the same processing that you used to have in a bank, for instance, is now located somewhere in the cloud.
Now, one of the great concerns about migrating to cloud is data security. Can you shed more light on this? Because a lot of people tend to get, how do I put it now, scared when you talk about cloud, security issues.
I mean, I think security is a justifiable issue, but I think you have to put it into context. I think I like to use the analogy, and I don't want to use product names here, but you can look at the outlooks of the world. Hotmail is a good example. You can look at Google Mail. You can look at Amazon, even Facebook. You know, these are areas where a consumer has trusted these organizations that I mentioned to send and receive emails that are personal to them, with the condition that it is secure and people won't hack into those email accounts. But there have been cases where email accounts have been hacked. So the idea is that to a certain degree, there's security in terms of using the internet. The internet itself is not a secure platform, the ecosystem itself. So there are layers of encryption that can be included in the case of online banking, and definitely I think in terms of some public email addresses and applications, they're now using secured layer sockets. So HTTPS, the S behind it is for secure. And I think most consumers should be made aware that if they're using these sites for personal or vulnerable information, it should be over HTTPS as a minimum.
Would the connectivity challenge we face in Nigeria today affect how businesses consume cloud services?
Definitely, yes. Connectivity is the underlying layer that cloud sits on top. Without connectivity, you don't have a cloud. I'll just share with you two things I think that are in transition in this very dynamic industry, telecoms, that we're speaking towards. The first thing is that with cloud, there should be a policy, and I think that the national broadband policy that's just been released and approved by the president speaks to it a bit, that we should have data, local data, posted locally. So you're not accessing local data in offshore climates. Or what do I mean by that? So you have infrastructure in place that allows local data to reside within the country. It's cheaper, it's more, you get a better customer experience, and you have an ability to secure the data much better than if it's in a foreign jurisdiction. Because in a foreign jurisdiction, it's under foreign laws as opposed to the Nigerian law. So there's some legal issues around where you host data. That's the first thing, you've got to have that in place. So there is a demand already now to have data centers locally resident in Nigeria. That wouldn't have happened 5-6 years ago. Why? Because the cost of connectivity in country was so exorbitant that it didn't make economic sense. So most people hosted their services or data offshore. But you can bring that inshore now because there's a prevalence of fiber in the 3 major cities like Port Harcourt, Abuja and Lagos. Definitely in the commercial enclaves, they are there. So there's a justification to do that now, to actually host data locally, and therefore you can have a private cloud. Okay? I think public clouds will always be hosted outside the country just because the sheer brand awareness. People go after or associate themselves with things that are commonly known. If you're not known in a brand, no one will go after no one will do it because of trust or lack of trust.
Yes, it's been a wonderful time having you on the program, and if you have been listening or if you've been watching, we just finished speaking with the Chief Executive Officer of Internet Solutions. He is Olusola Teniola. It's been wonderful having you here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.